Far away in the east, 3 clever men saw the very same star, the star that God had put in the sky when Jesus was born. They knew it was a sign. A baby king had been born. They had been waiting for this star. They knew it would come. "He's here!" they shouted. "He's here!" And I'm sure if you'd been there, you would have heard them laughing and dancing and singing until the sun came up. At dawn, they packed up their camels and wrapped gifts for the baby. They brought their most precious treasures of all, frankincense, gold, and myrrh. Special, sparkly, lovely smelling, gleaming things, just right for a king. The 3 wise men, actually, if you'd seen them, you would have thought they were kings because they were so rich and clever and important looking. Well, they set off. They rode their camels across endless deserts, up steep, steep mountains, down into deep, deep valleys, through raging rivers, over grassy plains, night and day and night, for hours that turned into days, that turned into weeks, that turned into months and months, until at last they reached Jerusalem. Jerusalem was by far the most important city for miles around, and as anyone can tell you, that's where a palace would be, and kings are born in palaces. So that's where they went. But they were in for a surprise. They went to see King Herod. Surely he'd know where this baby was. But he didn't. In fact, he didn't like the sound of a new king at all. It made him cross. He didn't want anyone to be king except for him. But Herod's advisors told the 3 wise men what was written in their books, what God had said about a baby king. "Go to Bethlehem. That's where you'll find him." Suddenly, the star that had been in the east started moving again, showing them the way. So the 3 wise men followed the star out of the big city, along the road, into the little town of Bethlehem. They followed the star through the streets of Bethlehem, out of the nice part of town, through the not-so-nice part of town, into the really not nice at all part of town, down the little dirt track until it stopped right over a little house. But wait. It wasn't a palace, and there weren't any guards or servants or flags or red carpets or trumpets or anything. Did they get it wrong? Or was this what God had meant? Sure enough, in that little house, there sitting on his mother's knee, they found him, the baby king. The 3 wise men knelt before their little king. They took off their rich royal turbans and gleaming golden crowns. They bowed their noble heads to the ground and gave him their sparkling treasures. The journey that had begun so many centuries before had led the 3 wise men here, to a little town, to a little house, to a little child. To the king God had promised David all those years before. But this child was a new kind of king. Though he was the prince of heaven, he had become poor. Though he was the mighty God, he'd become a helpless baby. This king hadn't come to be the boss. He'd come to be a servant. This story came from the Jesus Storybook Bible. This is a book that I've read to my kids now 5 or 6 times over, one story at a time at bedtime. I love the book. If you don't have it or haven't seen it, I recommend it to you. Find it on Amazon or the bookseller of your choice, the Jesus Storybook Bible. I love the way it takes these rich theological truths and puts them in simple terms that are good for kids, but also, I think, good for adults. I think I enjoy these stories just about as much as my kids do. So I wanted to share with you a couple of Christmas stories this Christmas season. Hopefully a time to slow down, maybe disconnect from the hustle and bustle of whatever you have going on, and just reflect on the beauty and simplicity of the Christmas story. Jesus coming to this earth, God in the flesh, to pay the price of our sins, to take on humanity, but also to take on sin, offer righteousness to us. It's a beautiful story. It's a life-changing story, and I hope that you will celebrate that story at Christmas time, not just the gifts and all the trappings. Merry Christmas.